My first welding lesson with Evelyn Lewis, Part 2.
So this is the traditional arc welder, and that's what Robert Smithson used and everyone started using when they switched over from working on ships to actually making art with it. You have two main components here, a ground clamp, which is like your negative end of a battery, and your electrode, which is like the positive end of a battery. This connects to your ground, and this holds your welding rod. When you strike metal while it's on, it causes the electricity to feed through your metal to the ground. Just like a car battery, really. It's a little bit old-fashioned. A lot of people prefer to use a MIG or a TIG welder. The reason being that it's cleaner, it's less harmful for your body, and also, well, you have less waste because every time you do a weld, okay, this is clamped in here, and you end up with a nub that gets thrown away. So it ends up being less cost effective, whereas with these machines you end up using the entire length of the material. Does that make sense? So, MIG welder it's connected to an argon gas tank, which is back here, and that keeps your welding rod in a clean, oxygen-free environment that doesn't allow for contamination. With these, what they do is they coat them with flux, which is this white material, and that works fairly well to keep out the air, but then it also leaves a deposit on top of your weld that has to be cleaned off. So it's more labor intensive at the end. So this is a MIG welder. In here, you can see there's a spool of wire, which is not looking so happy. You might not be able to use this machine. This is the same as the welding rod we used before. It's just coated with copper to keep it clean. It's fed through this, which is an automatic feeder that's started when you press this trigger when it's on, of course, and it feeds out here. The gas also comes out through this nozzle. So let me just see if it's even working okay.
Do you have to wear dark glasses?
Yeah. This is what we'll wear. This is a welding helmet, and it's a shade shade 10 to 12 in between there. Another thing that you have to protect yourself against is the UV rays. You can get a sunburn from welding, which is why we wear long sleeves, gloves. That scarf is good, keeps your neck protected. I've gotten sunburns when I had a hole in my pants even, like a little, I'd end up with a red circle. And sometimes up here when your shirt is like a V-neck. So that's good to keep in mind. So before we get started, we want to make sure it's plugged in, which it is. And we want to make sure this tank is open, which it is. Just you open it all the way at the top, and that's all you have to do. The pressure's automatically set.
Paper.
So, say that I want to connect this. Pliers are the welder's best friend. One of the tricky parts with welding in general is getting the metal to stay where you want it before you welded it. So there's a lot of creative problem solving that comes to clamping things, and making jigs to hold things in place while you're getting them ready to weld. Sometimes just a simple brick is all you need. Other times you actually have to build an entire jig to hold your piece together. This is an example of aluminum that was welded with a MIG. The MIG can weld a lot of different metals, including stainless steel, aluminum. Alright. There's two types of helmets. This is an auto darkening or auto tinting helmet. And this is the traditional standard helmet. See if you can take a look through that and tell me what you see.
Yeah, I can see, but my camera's not working. It's not filming anything. Oh yeah, now it is. It's recording. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so we're going to turn the machine on here. Alright. You only want the machine to be on when you're ready to weld. And when as soon as you're done, turn it off. This ground clamp connects to your ground. You can also connect it to the piece you're welding. But because our piece is somewhat small, I'm going to put it on the ground, keep it out of the way. You want all your cords to be to one side. If you're right-handed, you want them on the right side. I'm going to set my wire speed over here. That's how fast this is traveling out. Almost always you're going to want it to be set at 7. And you're going to want your voltage, which is how hot it is, to be set to E, which is the maximum setting. Don't put your hand in that water while I'm doing it.
Don't put my hand in what?
That water.
Why?
Because you'll get shocked.
If I put my hand in the water?
While I'm welding, it's likely. Alright, so it's very simple. It's like point and shoot, like a hot glue gun. You see this electrode sticking out?
Yeah.
Touch that to your metal. You never want to touch the actual casing, alright? Just the tip that's sticking out. You always want it sticking out about 1/4 of an inch.
Yeah.
Alright, and as soon as I pull this trigger, it's going to start welding. Alright, I'm going to do it again over here. So come in close and you can take a look.
I see it, I see it.
This is exactly what you want to see. This little concave divot in your weld. Can you see that?
Yeah.
I'm not going to weld.
Are we finished?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I tucked it here and here. That little concave divot in the middle of the weld
Yeah.
indicates that the metal flowed down, which means it went into the piece underneath. If you don't see that, chances are you didn't penetrate the metal underneath. Right? See how strong it is? Right, it's not that strong. Part of the challenge with welding with a MIG is if you're welding 2 different thicknesses of metal, generally you've got to really concentrate more on the thicker piece. Also, having cleaner metal helps. Let's try again this time. I'm going to spend a little bit more time focusing on that bottom piece. See if we can get it to stick a little.
But how can you focus on it? You just went bzzz, and that was it. Wait a minute, I gotta put my helmet.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hold it a little bit longer. I'm gonna hold the trigger longer. And I'm gonna point it, instead of pointing it more at this piece,
Yeah.
I'm gonna point it more down, more perpendicular to the piece on the bottom like this. If I'm aiming it here, it's gonna stick more on this piece. It's sort of, it's sort of physical memory. You start to, you might not be able to see what you're doing, but your body remembers how it felt, and you learn that way. So, ready?
Yeah.
See, I got a bigger weld.
Yeah.
Can I try again? Okay. Alright, you can lift up your hood. It's not as elegant, but this time, you know, it's not going to come off. And that just takes practice. Get the hang of it.
That's the end of my MIG lesson. Here's the
I can put it
permission.
on YouTube? Say sure.
You
You said yes? Okay.
And here's my picture. That's what I look like. Bye.